You've probably seen the footage. A striped creature pacing behind rusted bars, his breath barely fogging the cold Tasmanian air. They called him Benjamin. For decades, we believed he was the final heartbeat of a vanished species. But archival records and recent discoveries paint a murkier picture. The thylacine named Benjamin was likely male, but not the last. This story isn't just about one animal or one species. It's about how misunderstanding can kill, how myths can outlive truth, and how extinction isn't just silence, it's the rewriting of memory. The thylacine's disappearance wasn't a sudden tragedy. It was a slow unraveling of empathy, a consequence of fear, ignorance, spectacle, and neglect. The thylacine, also known as the Tasmanian tiger, was not a tiger, and it wasn't a dog. Despite its canine appearance, it was a marsupial, more closely related to kangaroos than wolves. This is a textbook case of convergent evolution, when unrelated species evolve similar traits due to similar environmental pressures. The thylacine's sleek frame, stiff-legged gait, and powerful jaws resembled a predator from another continent, but its biology told a different story entirely. The thylacine wasn't a weird hybrid. It was evidence of nature's elegance, solving similar survival problems in different evolutionary languages. When European settlers arrived in Tasmania, they brought not only sheep, but a colonial paranoia. The thylacine was quickly labeled a menace, a livestock killer whose extinction became state-sanctioned. Bounty programs encouraged indiscriminate killing, despite little evidence supporting claims of mass predation. Farmers mistook foxes and dogs for thylacines, or simply found a convenient scapegoat for unexplained losses. In reality, thylacines were likely shy, nocturnal hunters, scavenging as often as they hunted. Some modern reanalyses suggest their jaws weren't even strong enough to kill large prey efficiently. After a bounty was offered for dead adults and pups by both farmers and the government, approximately 3,500 thylacines were killed by hunters between 1830 and the 1920s. Thylacines weren't just feared, they were commercialized. Specimens were captured and shipped to European zoos and circuses, paraded as exotic novelties. Their odd gait, aloof behavior, and haunting stare were misunderstood as alien or eerie, not signs of stress and isolation. Rather than being studied respectfully, they were turned into sideshow curiosities. Benjamin's death in 1936 was heartbreakingly preventable. Locked out of his shelter during frigid weather, he succumbed to exposure, alone, in captivity, under the care of zookeepers who failed him. His passing marked the official extinction of the species, recorded with little ceremony. This was the intention of the settlers and officials of the period. The footage of him pacing is not just iconic, it's a study in grief, confusion, and loss. The tragedy wasn't just extinction, it was how little effort was made to stop it. What people thought thylacines looked like often came from exaggerated sketches, snarling beasts with oversized teeth and wild eyes. These depictions fed the myth of danger and justified persecution. Even taxidermy often froze them in aggressive poses, reinforcing a predator image they didn't earn. Even today, rumors persist. The thylacine lives in remote Tasmanian brush, hiding from modernity. Trail cams capture blurry shadows, Hikers report striped animals sprinting through fog. Some scientists entertain the possibility of survival. Others argue it's wishful thinking or misidentification. Either way, the need to believe reveals something deeply human. Geneticists have proposed bringing the thylacine back through cloning, using preserved tissues and sequencing data. While the science is thrilling, the ethics are sobering. Would a resurrected thylacine live in a cage, studied like Benjamin? Could it ever know wild freedom again? And should we play God with a species we let die out? Biological oddities. Thylacines were marsupials, not canids. Despite their dog-like appearance, they were more closely related to kangaroos and Tasmanian devils. Both males and females had pouches. Males used theirs to protect their genitals, a rare trait among marsupials. Their jaws could open up to 80 to 90 degrees, giving them a fearsome gape that contributed to exaggerated predator myths. They had stiff tails and occasionally performed a bipedal hop, similar to kangaroos. They were observed jumping 6 to 8 feet into the air. While the thylacine, Thylacinus cainophaeus, was in its own family, Thylacinidae, its closest living relatives are believed to be within Dasyurae, especially the Tasmanian devil and quolls, due to shared ancestry and ecological roles. Thylacines were nocturnal and solitary hunters, preferring forests, wetlands, and grasslands. Their diet included small mammals, birds, and ground-dwelling prey, not large livestock as colonial myths claimed. They had a keen sense of smell and relied on stealth and endurance, not speed, to hunt. Their low reproductive rate, 2 to 4 joeys per litter, made them especially vulnerable to population collapse. Cultural and historical significance. Thylacines were featured in Aboriginal rock art, showing their long-standing presence in indigenous culture. They were declared extinct in 1936, but the last wild individual was likely killed in 1930, and protection laws came too late. The thylacine is still used as a symbol of Tasmania, appearing on the state's coat of arms and conservation materials. De-extinction and legacy. Scientists have sequenced the thylacine genome, and companies like Colossal are exploring de-extinction via gene editing, using the fat-tailed dunnart as a surrogate. A parasite once exclusive to thylacines still survives in Tasmania, raising eerie questions about recent contact, because parasites that target a species usually also become extinct with their host animals. Despite thousands of reported sightings, no confirmed evidence of surviving thylacines has ever been found. The last was never named. The true final thylacine was a female whose remains sat mislabeled in a museum cabinet for over 85 years. She was never filmed and never named. She was forgotten until her remains were rediscovered in 2022. Her story was buried under myths, forgotten even in museums built to preserve memory. She wasn't mourned, but she mattered. Stories like this are harder for me to research, not due to sparse information, but because of the profound sadness that walks hand in hand with them. In my opinion, animals are uniquely innocent. We often casually anthropomorphize them, but until we have verifiable evidence, there's no reason to believe they act out of malice. If the thylacine were guilty of killing farm animals, they weren't acting out of evil, but hunger and instinct. The cruelty of ignorance that drove the thylacine to extinction is the stuff of heartbreak. If it were an isolated incident, I could understand and accept it as an unfortunate event that was part of our growth as a species. But it isn't. Thank you for watching, and stay curious.